All right, welcome to Needs and Learner Analysis Part 2. This time I'm going to give you an example of needs and learner analysis and how it affected the framing of a design. So remember, when we do a needs analysis or a learner analysis, it falls under very similarly here. We identify some problem, find data sources, collect them, analyze them, and then make some type of recommendation. So this example is based on some research I actually did at Arizona State University. They had a donor who was wanting to give a lot of money to support educational innovation. And so there are two cycles to this. So first, a whole bunch of just different people in the university and the community came together and just talked about what this could be, what they want to do with this money. And then after that, they turned it over to an actual architecture studio course of advanced architecture students who use that information to try to create some different samples of designs that could actually fulfill the needs. So this was from slides that they produced after that first round, after the community stakeholders and other people got together and talked about it. They wrote this: the challenge: how can we create a physical, virtual, and intellectual space that would make ASU to the go-to place for design, experimentation, research, and innovation in teaching and learning futures? Okay? So I want you to think about this. Is this a problem? What do you think? Okay, let's think more about what's the problem or gap. So this was the vision. This is another part of this where they said, in continuation of Gary Herberger's legacy of transcending boundaries, of audacious experimentation and play, bringing multiple stakeholders together, etc. This is more of the problem. It's we have this money and we have to create something. This back here, this is kind of more of a solution. They've decided that they want to create a physical, virtual, and intellectual space. They've already put a frame on this problem. Okay, so that's important to remember. Okay, so what they came up with, they did this design charrette where all these people got together and worked on this. They had 40 innovators, educators, researchers, practitioners, designers, and here's some things that they came out of it. They identified a location, so that says something about how they're framing the problem at this point. They looked at the space and costs. They looked at the people and the administration. So these are all part of identifying what is the need, why, and who are the learners or the users, breaking down all this information about the project. And then they even did this where they said, what will success look like? It's kind of like the learning outcomes, How will we know if we're successful in this project? And they came up with a list of those. And then they wrote a nice little report that outlined and gave their recommendations. Okay, so again, they identified problems, their data sources, collected, analyzed, and then they gave recommendations. So that was in the fall of 2018. So now we move forward to January 2019. And this is some architecture students, and this is the dean of the Teachers College telling them about this project and challenging them, saying, okay, this is what we want you to do. We want you to design a building for this. Okay. So now these students also go through a needs and learner or user analysis. So a couple of the things they did, they collected a whole bunch of examples or case studies. So they're looking at examples of other innovative educational spaces like High Tech High, or at USC there's the Garage, or there's collaborative learning studios. They look at other examples to understand what works, what hasn't worked, and to get ideas. They actually visited, it's called, it's the HYSA, it's the Herberger Young Scholars Academy. It's a gifted academy that's on Arizona State University's campus. And these students would likely be some of the users of the Herberger Studios. So they went and talked to the students and interviewed them to try to learn more about what those students would like in the setting. They did some more research. They talked to different people that came into the studio, some different researchers from around the university. And then after a whole bunch of work, they all came up with a different plan for this site. I want to focus on one student's plan, okay? So this is a video. I'm going to turn off my camera. This is a video that one student made about her final design product. So we're going to watch it.
When looking at the future of what the Herberger Studios might be, it's really important that we look at the past. The model of education is changing. It's no longer this linear system where a student has to travel to a singular destination to gain information. With the rise of technology, this knowledge system can be accessed anywhere in the world and can be applied to many different circumstances. We invest billions of dollars annually in these singular infrastructure buildings and fill them with the latest and greatest technologies that will soon become obsolete in the next 50 years. Instead, what campus architecture should be is a leader or a pedagogy about how we establish architecture inside of communities. Having an asset like the Herberger Studios opens up nearly unlimited potential for all of these different studios to influence the community in many different positive ways. And the beauty of establishing this pedagogy is that it allows the Herberger Studios not to be limited by a singular site. Instead, it creates this interconnected tapestry that links education and community together instead of separating it out. Creating a place where people can come and integrate and share their ideas allows for the community to not only experience the different studios, but those community members to influence the studios, creating a more rich educational experience. And that's why establishing this pedagogy is so important. It's because within those interconnected systems, we really understand what it means to learn. And those interconnected systems are what makes great cities.
Okay, so this student, we'll call her Annie. Annie originally was given this problem. They even had a location picked out on West Campus. When she did more research and she did a needs analysis and learned more about education systems and technologies and communities, she decided that, it doesn't really make sense to make some singular big building in the middle of a campus. So she actually came up with this plan. She's still going to use that site because it's available, but it's not going to be the only piece. She envisioned a whole bunch of different spaces across the city and across the metropolitan area that could all be different learning studios. So that was based off her analysis of the actual needs, the research in technology and pedagogy, and the learners. She was able to completely reframe the problem and present that to stakeholders. Now, that can be challenging. If you have a contract, sometimes you can't quite do this. But it's important to think about that when you have the power to say something like, I know you want me to create a professional development session, but maybe we could do this another way. Try and see if you can do that. Okay, main takeaways from this week. It's important to understand context, needs, and learners before you design a solution. And a need is not a solution. So a building is not a need. We need a building. We need an online program. That's not the need. We've got to figure out what the need underneath that is. Do your best to conduct an authentic needs and user analysis, even if the stakeholder has already framed the problem. Okay, so I'm excited to hear what your thoughts are on this idea, because what we're going to be doing is taking all the information we've gathered and use that to move forward and frame a solution for our teacher technology use problem. Thanks for watching.